We have Aaron Dykes fills in sometimes when I'm away on assignment or on vacation. So does Paul Watson. So does the health ranger, Mike Adams. Steve Watson has sat in before, does just an amazing job. I mean, he's kind of in the jovial, friendly mode when he's on with me, but he really has an incredible grasp of what's happening geopolitically. That is his specialty as well from college, but just does amazing work at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. We're going to go a little bit into overdrive into the next hour. I want to get his take on Libya and some other issues, but I've seen the polls of over 80% of Brits and the health service, the doctors, they've come out and said, yes, Princess Diana was murdered. And she even told her butler and made a videotape the government sees and a diary that Charles said he was going to kill her in a fake car accident. That's intelligence agency's favorite way to kill you. And then there's all the rest of the evidence. It goes on for hours. The government still laughs at people. But this old story of killing the brood mother after she's had the kids is really nothing new. And are people placing bets on how long the new prince's wife is going to be alive over there, Steve?
I don't know if they're placing bets, but I mean, it's all very similar. It's all history repeating itself. She's even got Diana's ring. That's what they're using for the wedding, which is very symbolic in itself. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time reading into that kind of thing, but I know people think that's a very important symbolic thing. But look, I mean, the royal family, like we said, they're still very powerful in this country. They still own more than half the land in this country that they just simply seized from the people.
No, it's propaganda that they don't have power anymore. That's a psyop they put out.
Exactly, and like you said, just last week, I think, the Queen dissolved the Canadian Parliament. She's still the head of state in Canada and Australia. Canada's parliament was dissolved last week.
And that's not ceremonial, by the way. I mean, she owns that country.
Yeah, the Prime Minister effectively said, right, I want to start this, I want to dissolve this parliament and have an election, because basically he's not going to get back in if he continues to seize out the term of the government. So who did he go to? He went to the Queen and asked the Queen to dissolve the parliament. And that's exactly what the Queen did. So, you know, and that can happen in this country. The Queen can just replace our government anytime she pleases.
But she doesn't have any power.
Well, that's the smoke and mirrors, isn't it? But
and the bombardment of Libya is not a war, and the ground troops are not ground troops. They pledged no ground troops, even though ground troops were already there. What's your take on that, Steve?
Well, the ground troops, I mean, yesterday the British government said that they were sending in scout parties that are not ground troops. They're help teams. They're there to help the rebels. So, I mean, that's just more Orwellian doublespeak. We're not at war with Libya. We are at kinetic military action. We're engaging in kinetic military action. We're not engaged in war. We're not sending in ground troops. We're sending in help squads. What else? We've got the EU that wants to send in 1,000 troops. And last time I checked, the EU doesn't even have a standing army. So basically, every single member state of the EU is going to be beholden to sending in troops, should it be judged by the UN, should it be given authority.
How about we send in Herman von Rompuy and people? How about we put a pack on his back and send him in against Gaddafi? Because, you know, at least the old kings, the old tyrants, would take the field and chop people up, and they got power the old-fashioned way. We're ruled by a bunch of chicken-neck bloodsuckers.
Exactly. I mean, it's not... There are people within the EU and our national governments that don't support this. I mean, the French foreign minister yesterday said it was tantamount to a military operation, which completely violates and contravenes the UN resolution that they keep bringing up and going over.
Stay there, extremists. You don't want to bow down to that old murderous witch, Queen Elizabeth II, and I do mean number 2. Stay with us. All right, final segment with Steve Watson, and you're going to hear more on this show. Great video, Skype connection to London. He's got his answer to 1984 1776 shirt. Everybody can just, with a white T-shirt and black shoe polish, make your own 1776 shirt. They'll know what it means. Get out there. The corrupt British government run by the globalists says you cannot protest the disgusting princeling, the droppings of the old witch, and his brood mate to produce more demon goblins. It is now time to let them know that we are not their slaves. The answer to 1984 is 1776. Okay, you're not getting control of my country, even though you've tried, globalist. Going back to Steve over there in Airstrip 1, finishing up with your views on the whole geopolitical ramifications of the globalists trying to destabilize the Middle East. Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, they're doing it for, well, it's threefold, really. They're doing it for oil. They're doing it for the banking, central banking. The rebels magically set up a central bank within days of the military action over there, and they're doing it for geopolitical, strategic reasons, and they all overflow each other. I mean, they're stoking up a civil war over there, which is exactly what they did in Iraq. It's the same operation. Of course, the other day it came out that the conspiracy theorists that said the Iraq war was about securing the country so that the oil mega corporations could go in, suck out the reserves. It turns out they were right. Through cables that were released that proved that 5 months before Iraq, the British government was meeting with BP and Shell to lobby the Bush administration to get them a piece of the jigsaw over there. It's exactly the same in Libya. Libya's got the largest proven oil reserves in North Africa. And of course, in 2009, Gaddafi proposed nationalising it all, which is obviously poison talk to the globalist interests that want to get in there, get a piece of that for themselves. They had a national central bank as well, which is a very rare thing these days. Normally it's all owned by corporate shareholders who own all the mega corporations, the oil companies as well. Libya had its own national bank. It had its own currency, which I'm sure will be swiftly replaced, and the country will be flooded with worthless dollars. And
oh yeah, the East is already setting up its own central bank currency and oil company. They're not wasting time.
No, exactly. I'm sure we'll see rapid inflation there, which will counteract the fact that Libya has vast reserves of gold to back up their national currency.
From the poorest to the richest in 40 years, they don't like it, and they're going to wreck it and roll in with the UN and special injections for the population that's tripled. They've got special shots for them, Steve.
I haven't heard about this. What's this?
Oh, well, you know, once the globalists take over, they've got special UN shots filled with sterilization hormones.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they do. But, I mean, what you got to do is just look at a map. You've got Libya, Egypt on one side. You've got Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan on the other. In the middle of that, you've got Iran. That's in the offing for them as well. Down the bottom, you've got Yemen, Somalia, Sudan. And then once you've democratized all those countries, you basically surround Russia and China. So that's the other reason why we're seeing what we're seeing in Libya at the moment.
And by the way, in closing, they're not democratizing them. They've now banned any protest in Egypt, and they're putting in the...
democratizing.
Yes, absolutely enslaving them. Steve Watson, also known as Paul Watson, joking, folks, they are two brothers, over at prisonplanet.com. Continue the great work. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you have fun at the royal wedding.
I shall bring back lots of reports.
Everyone's looking forward to it. Oh, my gosh, no one can wait in England. It's so wonderful. Oh, free cupcakes.